just keep finding myself drawn back to this whole smelting of zinc thing. So here we go again. Let's make a preparation of a subject ore, if you will, and a reducing agent. So there's 102 grams of my special goop provided zinc oxide, acid injector not included. So let's add 10 grams to that. There's 171 grams of malachite, copper ore. Let's add 17 grams. There's 65 grams of my mystery probable iron, 10 grams of charcoal in that. Let's mix these babies up and give it a go. Let's talk zinc first. I'm going with the whole clay container sort of theory here. What I'll do is put some zinc in each of these. I've got 5, and what I figure to do, because I know that cooking them for an hour is too long. So what I thought I would do is kind of cook them incrementally and see what I come up with. My thought is to cook them 5, 10, 15, 20, and 30 minutes. And I'm going to guess that 5 is not long enough and that 30 is too long, but I won't really know that. Okay, moving on to my other two metals. So you'll notice I marked each of my tins with a T. They're significantly different sizes, which is annoying. Once the clay dries out, I don't know that it'll make that big a difference. But anyway, we'll go ahead and do copper. And then we'll go ahead and do iron. I'm not going to mark the copper and the iron because I don't really care. It's not as time sensitive. We learned that with the copper last time. You know, copper and iron don't volatilize like zinc does. So it's a few days later, my balls are dry. They make banging noises when they knock together. You're supposed to stick them on your cheek and feel if they are cold, because that tells you whether they're still wet. I can't take the big can because it won't fit under the seat in front of me or in the overhead bin. So I'm going to take the little can. Now, I did leave it out in the rain one too many times, but it's done amazing work. I think what we need, though, is a little bit of refurbish. There it is. It was surprisingly resilient. I had to re-watch The King of Random because I hadn't done this in a while. Didn't remember the exact amount I needed. He's very prescriptive about that, so it's handy. So you guys have seen this already. My bathroom fan, reducer down to a pipe for my air injector. The world's best connector of pieces. But what you haven't seen is this. The one I just showed you is my second one. So when we go off to the South Pacific, I'll take my second one with me, and when we come back, I'll have 2 air sources for my big can, and hopefully we can fire that baby up and get it to do something. Okay, so let's talk about baking balls. So these are my zinc balls. Even though they got a T on them, they're zinc. And then 2 of these are copper balls, and 1 of these is an iron ball. So what we'll do is, this is fired up pretty nice and hot. We'll put my zinc balls in first for 5, 10, 15, 20, and 30 minutes. If I start seeing zinc oxide boil off, I'll pull them all out at once. And then we'll go ahead and put the copper and iron balls in, and we'll let them rip for a while. Remember, they're not volatile. Since I'm down here in the South Pacific, I don't have my usual stuff with me, so I'm having to use uh, less perfect methods. Oh, I think I got an exploding ball. I think I'm learning an important lesson that you can't just throw your balls into a fire because they'll blow up. Probably words to live by. So that's that. 5 minutes, all 5 gone. Lesson learned, don't throw your hermetically sealed balls into a pit of fire. Well, could have been 2 reasons for that failure. One, because my balls were wet. I'm sure that's been a problem for me in the past. Or it could be because there was air trapped inside this hermetically sealed chamber, and when it expanded, it caused the vessels to fail. I think it's probably number 2, because they kind of exploded. They didn't just break, they really kind of blew up. So here are my copper and iron balls, and I put holes in them, and we'll give it a shot. You know, this malachite wasn't cheap, so really hoping balls don't blow up again. Let's take this out and introduce the heat more slowly. It's failing catastrophically. Well, I guess I'll just let it rip. My iron, whoop. Every single vessel failed catastrophically. They continued to pop after they were open, so I'm guessing I had balls that were just too wet. And I've been there. We've all been there. I've decided that the zinc is a lost cause, but it's possible that the copper and the iron will smelt anyway, sort of the way they would do in a bloomer, even if they're not enclosed in a vessel. So I'm going to let this go till it burns out and see what's inside. A quick post-mortem on our little adventure here. Here's 2 pieces of clay that blew out early. That's just clay. Here's a couple of pieces of clay that blew out late after they'd been well fired. You can hear the difference. I mean, this stuff is a ceramic now. It's not just clay. Also, if you look, this has been vitrified, meaning that it's glassy on the outside surface, which gives me a thought, which, don't worry, I will come back to later. It's not just clay anymore. Here's some copper. I don't know if you can see it, that little blob right there, that's copper. So I did manage to do at least a little bit of smelting. This one, it's also got a little copper in it. You can't see it probably, but it's right there. One of these, I think it's, I don't have my magnet with me, but I think it's this one, is mildly magnetic. So I think I did probably smelt that iron stuff at least to a degree. Plenty of slag in here. Once again, going along with the vitrification, the fact that I managed to produce all of this slag, which means I melted the ore that was part of the process. So I melted that, so that's something. I'll come back to that later. Okay, so in general though, I went in with balls that were wet. I thought I had researched how to do that. I spent some time making sure my balls were ready for the heat, but then I put them in a situation that they were not ready for, and they exploded. All 8 of my balls exploded. Going in with balls that are wet, that's a scenario that we've all encountered in the past. I think, in fact, that the hotter the object of our attention, the more likely we are to go in balls first without adequately preparing. I'll be back. I haven't given up on my balls. I'm going to try it again, but I think I'm going to get them ready. I'm going to take them in hand. I'm going to make sure that they're prepared for what's coming. They start off with a slightly less intense situation. maybe a little, not quite as hot. Get them all ready to go before I expose them that way again. I'm also not done with zinc. I've tried in a crucible, I've tried it in an egg, I've tried it in a ball, and I've failed on all 3 occasions, and I can't let zinc go. So I'm going to try it again, and I hate to admit it, I'm making a desperation move here. I'm going to read the instructions. I know that's not what I'm about, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to see how other people did it in the past. I'm going to try to do it that way because I'm still determined to make that frickin' zinc work. So anyway, let's call it an evening on that. If you feel like liking and subscribing, that would be fine. Tell your friends. See if anybody else wants to watch my misadventures related to exploding balls, etc.